The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the policy or position of ONTV's management, staff, or board of directors.
Detroit basketball.
And hello and welcome into Views from the Sidelines. I'm Joey Tyson. Across from me, as usual, Malik Hill. And we just got through the NFL draft, and the NBA playoffs are in full swing. Some series are done, and some series are getting close to a Game 7, which is pretty exciting. I think the NBA playoffs have been good overall. Even some of the game or the series that were blowouts per se had a couple interesting games, at least for different reasons, of course. The NFL draft, like I said, just concluded last week. How do you feel about the draft? How much did you watch of it? You probably watched almost all of it.
I'm usually a real sicko and I watch all the way to
Right.
the end, but I think I watched like the first like 10 to 20 picks of the fifth round,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kind of just like I started watching other stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that means I've grown. I don't know. I still want to keep my sicko badge, but
Yeah.
yeah, I just started keeping track on the ESPN app, seeing who was going where. And yeah, I watched like all the first round, and I think all of the second through, was it 2 through 4? I think that was the
2 and
second day.
3, wasn't it?
Oh,
Just
yeah, it
2
was
and
just
3?
2 and 3. It was just, I watched 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But I think I watched like 4 and 5, the fourth and fifth rounds, and then I kind of stopped
Yeah.
there.
I watched a lot of day 2 for the most part. Day 1, I got like the second half because I was at work, but I really kind of dug into rounds 2 and 3. But after that, like, I just didn't know anybody. I didn't do as much research as I normally do to even catch up. So I just kind of said, you know what? I'm just going to go with the flow. I'll do some research while the picks are being made to see if they're interesting or not. And I think there's some interesting guys that went late that make it enjoyable. But obviously it's all a wait and see kind of thing. There was a really, really, really interesting fifth round pick that everybody was talking about. To me,
I wonder who that is.
To me, it wasn't.
I wonder who.
To me, it wasn't that interesting. I guess until you start comparing to players that went before him, but we'll get into that. So, at the top, no surprise. There wasn't really any big surprises at the top at all. Cam Ward, the consensus number 1, going to Tennessee. The only surprise at number 2 was the Jaguars moving up to number 2 to take Travis Hunter, which I think is a really interesting move now that they've changed their front office a bit. So
New coach, new
giving-
GM,
yeah.
A new era for them.
giving Trevor Lawrence another weapon. They say they're going to let Travis Hunter play both sides of the ball. I still don't know how that's going to work out all that well, but I guess it's just because we haven't seen anybody do it.
I'm thinking most likely part-time corner
Yeah.
because they don't want to like ruin his body within like 2 years.
Right.
So they're going to be smart about it, hopefully.
Yeah, and they found. I don't think Travis Hunter like doesn't have the pressure to be their number 1 receiver either. Brian Thomas is fantastic.
I think they expect him to be a weapon from the jump, but they know he has time to grow as a receiver.
Right. So, just an aggressive move by them, but I think it was fine. And then the Giants had the easiest layup, I think, just taking Abdul Carter, just take the best player. They're a poverty franchise, so just get somebody.
It is insane saying that, knowing they won 2 Super Bowls when
It is.
we were kids when they won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
But even those
it's
two,
crazy. Yeah.
those 2 Super Bowls were 2 Super Bowls nobody
saw coming.
expected to
especially
happen.
the first one.
So we haven't seen the Giants be able to even really do anything since they made the playoffs a couple years ago and knocked out the Vikings. But other than that, like, they've just been pretty awful. And now they've swapped everything over. They traded Saquon last offseason, so they got a lot of work to do. Will Campbell, also kind of another pretty chalky pick for the Patriots.
The
A lot of
short-armed
people-
king, Will Campbell.
Yeah. So Patriots, they've had one of the best off seasons of any of the
I loved
teams.
their draft. I loved what they did.
They showed like their free agent acquisitions plus their draft signings.
They're ready to help Drake
Like,
May right now. Yeah.
They could be right around the corner again. The AFC East is pretty wide open, so there's definitely a chance for them to make some noise. Number 5, I think Cleveland came out crazy good on this. They traded back to get Mason Graham, who's a stud, for their defensive line. And I think they got some extra assets. They're still kind of rebuilding too, so it's not anything crazy, but it's nice to help out those trenches for them. Ashton Genty to the Raiders, I think was a lot of fun at 6. That was gaining steam as the weeks were rolling on. He's going to be their number 1 guy. And the Raiders are in a new kind of regime as well with Pete Carroll coming back. They got Geno Smith at quarterback. Brock Bowers had an insane season last year. So they're on their way, I think, maybe trending in the right direction, especially if Genty does hit like everybody thinks he's going to.
And I don't think they have to like pound the carries on him in year 1 like constantly.
Yeah.
Like I think Zeus White is a really good complimentary back.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to like feature him last year and it wasn't like the best.
Right.
So I still think he could be effective. They have like 2 other guys that could be pretty effective for them.
Yeah.
Besides him, so he should have some help. We'll see how good their O-line is.
Right.
But yeah, especially with having Geno Smith in the room, like he has a guy that's gonna give him confidence and like knows what he's doing. So yes, it could be a good position, really good for him.
Yeah. And then at 7, the Jets.
Their coach Chip Kelly.
Huh?
Who was the Raiders coach?
No, Pete Carroll.
Oh, I forgot Pete Carroll. Yeah. Did they hire him as the coordinator? I think Chip Kelly got hired by the Raiders.
I think
he might
you're
be the
right.
offensive coordinator.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Number 7 for the Jets, they just went with the offensive tackle, Membu out of Missouri.
He blew up in the draft process and in the combine.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody actually knows if he's going to be great.
Right.
They're just like trusting his like freaky athleticism and
he's also just a giant.
Yeah.
Tet McMillan going to 8 to Carolina.
I was surprised about that.
I was surprised by that too. I mean, it makes sense just giving Bryce Young more weapons because they didn't get the greatest of weapons last year. Like Xavier Leggett is good, but I don't think he's like the number 1 kind of guy. And then who else? Oh, Adam Thielen is another year older.
Adam Thielen had a surprise like rejuvenated season. Like he was balling in a lot of games.
Yeah.
Who knows if he could do it like another season.
Right. Number 9, this is where people started getting concerned about Shedeur Sanders because a lot of recent mocks had him at 9 to the Saints because of Derek Carr's injuries and stuff, but they went with Kelvin Banks, another tackle, which I think is a good pick for them. Just shoring up the offensive line. I think the Saints are going to be kind of in a weird spot for a little while. And then at number 10, Colston Loveland to the Bears.
2 Michigan guys in the top 10.
How do you feel about Loveland going ahead of Tyler Warren? Because a lot of people thought that was a little contentious, but I mean,
it's almost impossible for me to like separate my favoritism.
Mm-hmm.
Like I obviously think Colston is just as good or maybe better than Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
No,
I think Tyler Warren may be a little bit more versatile.
Penn State, they built half of their offense around Tyler Warren and had him doing like wildcat quarterback stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows how much Indianapolis would do that? Maybe they'll do it in like goal line packages and like the short yardage stuff. But I think both teams are getting really effective tight ends. Like Ben Johnson is going to get very creative. We saw how he used Lions tight end
Sam Laporta.
We saw how he used him. I'm sure he'll try to use Colston Loveland in similar ways.
Mm-hmm.
Getting him the ball as much as he can in different spots on the field. And Tyler Warren, I mean, Anthony Richardson needs a safety blanket.
Yeah.
He needs a guy that can get open and catch the ball consistently and just take pressure off of him.
Or potentially
Tyler Warren could do that.
Or potentially Daniel Jones.
Or
there is that
potentially
chance.
Daniel Jones. And is Dallas Clark just going to give him that 44? Because that's what he wore at Penn State.
I don't know.
It would be cool if he did it. Or maybe Dallas Clark just doesn't care that much.
Or maybe he does, the Lawrence Taylor of no way, get out of here.
Listen, that Abdul Carter talking about 56 that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the greatest defensive player of all time. Let's calm down. But Warren Moon gave Cam Ward the number 1 at a press conference, and that was really cool. So, yeah, we'll see.
Right.
I like both picks, though. It might have been a little high for Colston, but listen, Ben Johnson has a plan.
Yeah. And then we'll jump around in the first round. I'll let you have a couple takes after this one. But Kenneth Grant at 13. Big kind of surprise, at least looking at mock draft boards. A lot of people thought he would be later first round. But the more that I started hearing analysis, people are still trying to figure out who made that defensive front for Michigan go. Was it Kenneth Grant? Was it Mason Graham? Maybe it was a combination. The Dolphins definitely thought it was a combination because to take Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant that high, it's not like surprising, but there was a little bit of, okay, they really think highly of this guy. And I think Kenneth Grant, I wanted the Lions to take him. So
he's still untapped potential.
Yeah.
He still is. Like, he is a freak at his size.
Right.
And outside of Calais Campbell, who can you name that's a notable interior defensive line guy for the Dolphins
right.
in the past decade?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, if you even go to, like, edge rush, like, you got Cameron Wake.
Mm-hmm.
They just got Chop Robinson, but he's still a work in progress. Chop Robinson needs help.
Yeah.
And Kenneth Grant could take pressure off of him being in the middle.
Right.
They could free up some, like, pass rushing lanes for Chop Robinson. So,
mm-hmm.
yeah, I like the pick.
Yeah, I do too. How do you feel about the rest of the first round? I'll let you kind of pick and choose. Like, was there another first round pick that kind of surprised you?
Will Campbell said he was going to fight and die to protect Drake May. That's just a winner right there. And he was crying while he said it. So the passion was just through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
They got the blood flowing for all of the Patriots fans. Grace Abel from North Dakota State to the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling he's going to be like a cornerstone.
Yeah, a lot of
guy,
people
like blocking for that offense. For a
I
long
felt like
time.
he was another one that a lot of people started talking about the longer that the draft process was going on. He was definitely one to move up boards because at one point he was also mocked to the Lions to be their first round pick. So, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the feeling that the Bucs may move on from the Bucs' second receiver.
Chris Godwin.
He's had a lot of injuries.
I was going to say,
he's aging, and they take Emeka Egbuka in the first round.
I think it's
when they have like 5 receivers already.
I think it's just a sign that he's not fully healthy because I
too.
think they re-signed him technically.
But I have a hard feeling thinking they're super confident with like, are they just about to make Emeka Egbuka their third guy when they
just drafted Jalen McMillan last year?
Jalen McMillan was like getting serious burn.
Yeah.
Like
this is definitely
really
like a future pick. It's not really for this year because. Again, Mike Evans is 1 year older. Chris Godwin, he's starting to get to that plateau, I think.
The injuries are aging him.
Right.
Maybe. Yeah.
So maybe their future thought is, let's keep this wide receiver thing going for Baker and give him Egbuka and McMillan. Plus, they have Bucky Irving that kind of emerged last year.
Yeah.
Who's their tight end?
K.
Dotton.
Yeah.
He's been having a couple good seasons. Like, they have a young offense going right now. So I think that's what they're trying to keep going for them because it seems like their defense is just good by scheme so they can plug guys wherever they want. So I guess that's just my thought.
Now, he is another type of like safety blanket receiver like I forgot his name again.
Chris Godwin.
Chris Godwin. This is not a good start, Joe.
Well, we haven't seen a whole lot
My
of
mind is all over the place.
That's okay. We haven't seen a lot of Chris Godwin in the last couple of years.
Chris Godwin has been that go-to like 6 or 7 catch, like 80-yard a game guy where he's just reliable and gets open and catches the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And Emeka Egbuka could be that. So it's kind of awkward, but for the future he could be that.
Mm-hmm.
I love Amari and Hampton to the Chargers.
Yeah,
I love it. Having him and Najee Harris as like your go-to guys,
mm-hmm.
like Jim Harbaugh, I love what he did overall too. Like that Trey Harris pick in the second round was awesome. I think he's like building something pretty nice.
Yeah.
In what should still be San Diego, but is now LA.
Right. And we know Najee Harris isn't like, he's not a world beater at the running back position, but he has been super steady. He's gotten did he get 1,000 yards last year? Because he was on a 1,000-yard per season streak.
Who are you talking about?
Najee Harris.
I think, he kept getting like just a little over 1,000 each
And part of
season.
that is just because he just does not get hurt and he doesn't fumble the ball away. So to have a rookie be able to kind of play,
he's not exciting, but he's there.
right? And we know Jim Harbaugh is going to play them in tandem.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of ease Omarion Hampton into this offense, I think is going to be really good for them. And then let's talk about the other NFC North teams. The Packers.
I just mentioned one more before we go.
Yeah.
The Eagles got away with it again.
I was
Jahad Campbell is going to be a monster.
I was going to say both Baltimore and like the Ravens and the Eagles seem to always do it. Like Malachi Starks
is going to be a baller.
going to the Ravens is
Just
like,
put him next to Kyle Hamilton.
It's literally like the draft when they got Kyle Hamilton. I know Kyle Hamilton was a little bit higher, but it's like everybody
he fell because everybody said he was slow.
Right.
But
Everybody kept talking about Kyle Hamilton. Oh, he's dropping. And the Ravens are like, okay, we'll just take him. And he's been phenomenal for them.
Mm-hmm.
And now it felt like Malachi Starks, best safety in the draft. Who's going to get him? Oh, falls to the Ravens. Okay. And then same with, like you said, the Eagles. Like
Jahad Campbell, he's probably the best linebacker in this draft, and he just fell to a defensive machine.
Yeah. And I know, linebacker typically falls in the draft. They're usually not highly prioritized. But it's just annoying.
They keep getting away with this.
Right.
Over and over.
When you have a team that has a good defense already, they hit on all of their rookie picks
They're all
the last
young.
few years. Yeah.
All of their best defensive players are young.
A couple years ago, they got Nakobe Dean because of injuries. He's turned out to finally kind of turn into something. Last year, they went crazy with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper Jean, Jalen Carter. Like, they're just finding guys. And then it's like, oh, they could use another linebacker. Oh, here's Jahad Campbell for you. We'll wrap him up with a nice bow for you.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Good for them, but it's ridiculous.
Right. We talked about it before the show, but Maxwell Harrison, the local guy.
West Bloomfield's own.
Going to the Bills. Cool to see he made it into the first round. He was right on that cusp of first and second round.
Well, we'll see what that 4.2 speed does in the league.
Yeah, he's a little bit undersized, but
he's a good cover guy. But
right, it's a cool story. NFC North, Matthew Golden going to the Packers, wide receivers, first one they've done in forever. Do you think he makes a difference for the Packers?
I think he does. It depends on how they use him. It seems like they got their go-to guy now. Some of them can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna need
most of them can't.
Yeah, most of them can't. But especially
Christian Watson.
Yes.
Romeo Dobbs has struggled to stay healthy. Even Jaden Reed at times.
And he's their go-to guy now. What it appears that Jaden Reed is.
Yeah.
So another guy, another speed guy that can run routes, but he can get better.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be explosive.
Yeah.
And this is just another piece.
The scary part would be if Christian Watson could stay healthy, because Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, and Jaden Reed, those are fast receivers.
But here's the crazy thing. Just in case Christian Watson probably isn't there, they got Savion Williams in the third round.
Yeah, I think that was a good
part-time 6'4", 220-pound running back.
Yeah.
That is a primary receiver.
Yeah.
So you can just get him the ball, and he's like a nightmare in the open field. So another big body guy that can make things happen.
Yeah. And I feel like we've been seeing a lot more of those, like, kind of running back wide receiver hybrids kind of making their way to the NFL. We've seen last year Tyrone Tracy.
Cordero Patterson was ahead of the curve.
Yeah. But now we've seen Tyrone Tracy last year. Antonio Gibson a couple years ago. He's been kind of up and down, but like they have a role.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a good thing for them. And then the Vikings taking Donovan Jackson, guard out of Ohio State. They just built their line in this
they're helping JJ.
Yeah.
They're helping him.
And I mean that's like a smart move for them to do. I think they did a pretty solid job in the draft.
And listen, Ty Felton was a underrated pick. I think Ty Felton can be a really good receiver in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, we've pretty much gone over the whole first round. How do you feel about the Giants getting back up into the first round for Jackson Dart? Is he your number 2 quarterback?
He's the guy that I just didn't know. I couldn't put my finger on Jackson Dart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, he played in the SEC. Yes, he put up numbers. But that Lane Kiffin offense, it's tailored for quarterbacks to just – it's smooth sailing for the most part with quarterbacks in Lane Kiffin offenses.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to, like, hit the open guy for the most part. Like, have a really good arm, be mobile, and hit the open guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to do, especially for the Giants, who still don't have it really like put together on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Like they took him to sit behind Jameis and Russell Wilson, so he has time to learn.
Right.
But I have no idea how it'll work out with him. Time will tell.
Yeah.
That's how it is with that pick.
And it's interesting because they did re-sign Kayvon Thibodeau, or gave him his 5th year.
Yeah.
A lot of people were surprised by that because they also took Abdul Carter. But it makes their defense like pretty scary. At least their defensive front.
They don't have they don't have Dexter Lawrence, right?
Yes, they do.
Oh, okay.
They have Dexter Lawrence, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns.
Hey,
that's a good front.
They're trying to go back to that first Super Bowl where they had not Nnamdi Asomugha, Justin Tuck, and oh my god, this was my brother's Madden team. He played the Giants and he would just blitz. I'm thinking Nnamdi Asomugha because like it's a similar like African last name. What is it? Oh my god, he wore number 72.
Yeah.
Jeez. See,
and Jason Pierre-Paul played on those teams.
He was a rookie on those teams, but I'm sorry for forgetting the other guy. And Michael Strahan was like
it starts with an O, right?
God, what is his what is his name?
Oh. Yikes.
Oh man, it's killing me.
We're not real. We're not real fans.
I'm just losing my mind. I am a real fan. I'm just losing it. I have a problem with names, but especially today, I don't know why. We named the other ones.
I didn't even look it up. Osi Umenyiora.
Osi Umenyiora.
I was about to look it up, and I was like, I figured it out.
Yeah. Nnamdi Asomugha, Osi Umenyiora. You see where my brain was going. You see where it was going.
I guess so. Yeah. So,
African names.
Sure. But yeah, so like they're building a defense, and their offense maybe is getting there. They did take Cam Scatterbo, which is a fun pick.
Really, I like that one a lot. Yeah,
so
I like that one.
We'll see where they slot in, and
him and Tyrone Tracy like bounce off of each other really well.
Yeah,
the thunder and lightning kind of.
Their quarterback situation is weird, but at least they're quality guys.
It's somewhat stable for the first time in some years.
Yeah,
like you know what you're getting in Russ,
right?
And it's not bad.
Who would you say had a really good draft? We'll just go like one team apiece. And then
I mentioned the Patriots. I love what the Patriots did.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I haven't really like gone in depth on like who I love
in
the draft. I like what Seattle did. Grace Abel getting Nick Emenwari, a like typical Seattle pick.
Mm-hmm.
That dude is a safety. He's 6'3", 220 and ran a 4.4.
Yeah,
like he's just slide him right in there.
Mm-hmm.
You get Elijah Arroyo in the second. Jalen Milroe is a nice like value thing.
I really like the Milroe pick actually.
I like betting on that with Sam Darnold playing.
Right.
Riley Mills was a good pick. Torrey Horton in the 5th. He could be a really good receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Getting Ricky White in the 7th with your last pick. Like I think Ricky White is extremely talented.
Mm-hmm.
Former Michigan State receiver, ended at UNLV, high level group of 5 receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of talent, and I think he could be really good. So I like what they did, and they got Damian Martinez in the 7th too. Like I love what Seattle did with their picks.
Yeah. I kind of mentioned it earlier. I liked Cleveland's draft. I know it was a bit unconventional.
It's
taking 2 quarterbacks,
two running backs and 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, but
very interesting.
But I kind of like it. The Mason Graham pick I think was great. They got a good deal for that trade back, so they're gonna have some future assets.
Plus, you have a Pro Bowl tight end, and you take Harold Fannin. Like it's very strange.
Yeah.
It's outside the box.
But like taking the 2 running backs, I think Judkins and Dylan Sampson can provide depth for them because it just looks like they're moving on from
Nick Chubb.
I did it now. Nick Chubb,
I got you on that.
Jerome Ford is their number 1 guy, which I just don't think he's a number 1 guy. So I think Judkins being able to slot into that and Dylan Sampson being a complement to that could be really good for them. And then obviously like their quarterback carousel is kind of crazy.
Absolutely hilarious.
But we'll talk about it now. Like Shedeur Sanders fell to the 5th round. Everybody freaked out. But now like that makes their value.
It's a nice lottery pick for them.
Right.
If he's what everybody thinks he is.
It's like a win-win situation. Like if he doesn't work out, they didn't spend a lot of draft capital on him. And if he does work out, they look like geniuses that they just waited.
Drafting a backup in the 3rd round. I just don't understand.
I
They
get
could
it.
have picked him in the 5th.
I get it. I get it.
Like, how important was it to take Dylan Gabriel? It's pretty out there.
It was a little bit odd. Now they have to decide between Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel,
How does Kenny Pickett make the
and
roster?
Shedeur Sanders. Hey,
Like,
man.
you're going to give the rookies the most chance, and Joe Flacco's going to be the starter to start the season, I assume.
Yeah.
I-
I mean, that's a good bar to set, though. If your rookies aren't better than Kenny Pickett,
Not enough reps to go around. that's
probably-
another thing.
That could be true.
You have to give these two rookies
That could be
enough
true.
reps to, like, see something.
Yeah.
So why do you give Kenny Pickett any reps? Just cut him. Or trade him. Trade him before camp starts.
Yeah. And then I always think the Ravens just do really good. Again, they got Malachi Starks in the first. They got Mike Green to fall all the way to the late second, which he's got some allegations against him. But
Yeah.
if any team is able to turn that around, I think, the Ravens would be one of those teams.
I like the Teddy Buchanan pick.
Yeah.
He's a really tough linebacker from Cal. I like
Mhm.
him a lot.
Yeah. Who would you say had a really bad draft?
It's hard to say like who was bad. It's more like who we didn't like.
Mm-hmm. Right.
See, that's also hard because like most of these teams took positions that you know what? I'll go New Orleans. Listen, Tyler Shuck in the second.
Yeah, that
Like-
was.
Okay, all right, Tyler Shuck in the second. I like the Devin Neal pick though, and I like the Danny Stutson pick. See, it's difficult.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many picks I like with these teams. It's hard to determine.
Yeah.
I like what the Dolphins did, like getting Quinn Ewers in the 7th and Ollie
Yeah.
Gordon in the 6th. I like that.
Yeah.
There aren't many that I just dislike, to be honest.
I felt like.
I loved the Texans taking Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel,
Yeah.
taking both Iowa State guys. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard for me. Like Cleveland is the one I just don't fully understand what their plan was.
I felt like Cincinnati was.
I
All over
just
the
came
place.
across Cincinnati and it's
They took kind
it's
of
pretty out there.
the biggest question mark in the first round of Shamar Stewart. Like he could turn out well, but they're trying to figure out their Trey Hendrickson situation, and then they take Demetrius Knight Jr. Like I don't know. They're
Barrett
kind of
Carter in the 4th. I think Barrett Carter is just a rotational linebacker. Like I don't see him. And in
Yeah.
the 4th, I guess that's why you take him, but
right.
I don't see him being anything special.
They took two inside
No.
linemen.
My favorite pick of theirs is their 6th round pick. Like Taj Brooks was a beast at Texas Tech.
Yeah, he could be a good compliment.
But you have
Chase Brown is kind of
that's what you
the
have.
same
You have
mold.
Joe Mixon and Chase Brown.
No, they don't have Joe Mixon's with the Texans.
I forgot. See,
So Chase
Yeah, I
Brown is
forgot.
kind of the number one guy. They had Zach Moss last
So-
year.
yeah, taking Taj Brooks isn't a bad idea in that situation.
Yeah, he can kind of play the similar role to what Chase Brown does, but
Yeah,
being
they-
able to
Mhm.
supplement the two of them is probably
He
a
only
good
has
thing.
6 picks, and only one I really like is Taj Brooks. So
Right.
yeah,
So-
that's interesting.
A little odd. All right, let's get to the home team, the Detroit Lions.
Let's get to it.
Tyleek-
Tyleek Williams.
Tyleek,
Yeah, how you feeling?
I didn't know about your game, and I think it's a good pick. Obviously, this has kind of become the thing for Lions fans. I think is just I know there's the whole like mantra of like trust in Brad, whatever. I was still a little bit nervous about this pick just because I was kind of like felt like there was some guys on the board that we could have taken, some edges, and that seemed like the big
That's
need.
what I thought they were gonna do.
And it
But
seems
then
like
they took D-line. I was like,
yeah,
the interior D-line can still use help.
Aleem McNeil is going to be out for a little while still. Even at the beginning of the season, he's going to be recovering. So to have a new big guy, that's fine. DJ Reader again, another year older,
Yeah,
so he's not as good as he was. So to fill in the middle of the defensive line, I think is fine. Just create space. And Tyleek Williams is a massive human being, so kind of nice about that. Tate Ratledge, love that pick. I think a lot of people
that's
do.
unanimous. Yeah, he's perfect fit for what the Lions do.
Obviously, we needed guard. That was a big point of need for this offensive line. So that's exciting. Same with I think Miles Frazier in the 5th. A lot of people have
Another
been talking
good one,
about
yeah.
that one.
Mhm.
That's great value. Those guys could both start at the beginning of the season, potentially, depending on how things go. But the 3rd round pick. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about pronounce it for the people. Isaac
Tesla.
Say it. Well, you put a little pizzazz on it.
Tesla.
Tesla.
Because a lot of people are saying
Isaac Tesla.
A lot of people are just going to Tesla, but I don't know. I've heard all of it.
Not a ton of production in college.
Nope. They traded up
at Hillsdale. He had a ton of production.
They traded up to get him.
A D3 school in Michigan, Hillsdale.
Yep.
Transferred to Arkansas. Now he's 6'4", 215, and has 4.4 speed. He's a freak athlete.
Brad's favorite thing to see. He has one of the highest RAS scores of all time.
And can you explain that to me? Because I don't even know what that means.
It's a combination of like his 40 time, his lateral quickness, like the cone drill, and then like it also adds like your vertical, your bench press, and then there's like an IQ test, I think, too. He scored like 90 something, which I think it's out of 100 or something like that. He was like, I don't know, top 20 wide receivers of all time in RAS score. So, it's just something that Brad Holmes likes to do.
The workout warrior.
Yeah.
The combine warrior.
He loves the RAS score. And I can't fully blame him because, like, when you see that you have a 6'4", 214-pound receiver that runs a 4.3, that's pretty exciting. So
on paper, yes.
I get the idea of it.
When you watch his highlights of when he makes plays at Arkansas, it looks exciting.
Right. So to trade up was weird. I think that's the part that a lot of people just don't enjoy is that they traded up for that pick. Now, obviously, there was rumors that somebody else was going to take him. I can't remember exactly what team it was, but they had been talking about that. So, sure, you want to get your guy, and you move up to get him. He was like one of their highest-rated guys that they just had to have. So, I don't know. It's another one of those things that you just have to trust in the process, I guess. But it was probably the bigger question mark in the draft.
Yeah. From Hudsonville, Michigan, Unity Christian High School.
Yep.
You can see why he wasn't highly recruited.
Right.
Out of Unity Christian.
Yeah.
But heck of a story. Did you watch his the video where he gets drafted? He's in the room with his family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Right. And honestly, that's like we're missing a big-bodied receiver. We have the speed guy in JMO.
Well, besides
Tim Patrick, but he's aging. He's a great, like, reliable receiver, but he's not a guy that can play every snap. So to get a big guy that can also run opposite JMO, I think is really good. Plus, you have Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra in the middle of the field. I think if he works out, it looks good on paper. So it's a big wait and see, but interesting move to make.
My favorite pick.
Their last pick?
No.
Okay.
That 6th round pick. Ahmed Hassanin.
Yeah.
People need to do their research on this dude.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pass rushing problem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it was the Mountain West.
Right. Boise State.
But.
Hey, Ashton Genty plays in the Mountain West.
The number of pressures and tackles for loss, 22 sacks over the past 2 seasons. 32 tackles for loss.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just knows how to get to a quarterback.
Yeah.
And he knows how to cause havoc.
Right.
And he was another one that said, like, he was going to lay his, like, he said something dramatic to the GM and Dan Campbell when he got drafted. But it got your juices flowing. Like, he's a warrior.
Right.
And I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot.
And I would almost say, too, like, and I don't fully know anything about the guy, to be honest, but you brought up the Mountain West. Like, the Mountain West is normally an offensive conference. So to be able to produce defensive numbers like that, I think also says something.
At that clip over 2 seasons.
Right. Where there's a lot of, there's a lot of mobile quarterbacks. So I think that's an interesting move. I think the funny thing, too, for the Lions, they drafted 3 Georgia players.
The last 2 were interesting.
Yeah, Dan Jackson, the safety, and then Dominic Lovett, wide receiver.
Has a history of trouble.
Yeah.
I think he got one of those speeding arrests.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can't remember if it was that or the domestic violence with him, but he's had a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. I think he's more of a special teams kind of guy that they're looking at. because we do know that they love looking at that kind of stuff.
Dan Jackson might be the same thing too.
Yeah. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to say about Isaac Tesla. He is known for being a really good pass blocker as a wide receiver. What does Brad Holmes love doing? He loves blocking with the wide receiver down the field.
Yeah.
So, again, makes a little bit more sense.
I'm sorry for disrespecting Dan Jackson. He was a quality safety in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he's smart enough and he's a good enough football player to maybe carve out a role in the rotation. But probably starting out on special teams, he's a really good football player, though.
Yeah.
Dan Jackson can play.
And he was a walk-on, too, which is a cool,
heck of a story.
Cool little stat. So, Lions overall, we got to do it. What's the grade?
I would give them a B. I give them a B.
It's right around where I was thinking. I'm trying to think of a B plus.
There's some picks on. There's nothing you like love.
Yes.
But there are things to like.
Right.
And the Isaac Tesla pick is
It's a wait and see kind of pick.
Yeah, it's gonna hinge on that one.
Brad Holmes has been known to be doing that lately, you know.
But like Tate Rowledge and Miles Frazier, we're pretty sure they're gonna contribute. Like quality picks.
Yep.
Tyleek Williams needed depth.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy that could help instantly also. And then Ahmed Hassanin was my favorite.
Yeah.
And Dan Jackson, decent value pick. A guy that could contribute.
Hassanin could turn into the kind of like Giovanni Manu kind of guy. Like we might see him in like a year or two really develop. We might see signs here and there.
Yeah.
But it might take him a second. But
also, I'd say don't be surprised if he has like 4 sacks by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Where they just like put him in just to see what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He gets to the quarterback and then they sit him down.
Right.
Like to keep learning. Like he might get a few sacks in the season.
Yeah. Alrighty. Anything else you got to say about the draft before we move on?
Time to move on to the guys that are still in the playoffs and trying to stay alive.
Those pesky Pistons.
Yes.
Pistons winning last night in another thriller to take the series to 6 games. Coming back to Detroit was just exciting. They lost game 1, won game 2, and then they lost the 2 games in Detroit, which was disappointing.
And I was at game 4.
And Chris was
on
at
my birthday.
Chris was at
Chris
game
was at
3.
Game 3. Game 3 was not as agonizing as game 4, especially being there.
Yeah. But they did bounce back. They won in New York last night, like I said.
Yeah.
And we're coming back to Detroit tomorrow. So what have you seen so far from this series? What do you like? What do you dislike? Do you think they're making it to game 7? What's the breakdown?
I think it's unfortunate that the fans on both sides are mostly making it about refs because they've been letting them play for most of the series.
Mm-hmm.
Like there have been ticky-tacky calls every now and then in the end of game 4. We'll get to it. But it's been so much physical play. No, I've enjoyed watching this series. Yeah.
Well, before you go there, or before you move on real quick, I just want to interrupt because about the ticky-tacky plays. You're a Brunson guy.
I'm not anymore.
Because of this series?
Because of what he's become.
Okay.
Like
That's what I wanted to hear.
He's still a hell of a player outside of the foul baiting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not enjoyable to watch.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
He's teetered.
He's taken away from his talent.
Yeah. He's teetered towards James Harden level.
Yeah.
Which is rough. It's why I didn't like watching James Harden a lot. And something that I noticed in the game last night, late in the game when Brunson was driving to the basket, he was expecting contact. And multiple times, Asar backed off of him.
Yeah,
and he missed.
Yeah, I think the refs finally adjusted to the Asar's defense because the first 2 games, every time Jalen Brunson would barrel into him and it would knock Asar back, they called a foul on Asar.
Yeah.
Now every time Jalen Brunson drives through him, Asar would bounce back, just settle back in, no call.
Yeah, and Brunson missed a lot of those because I think he was expecting contact and just hoping for a foul. So he wasn't focused on making the shot. He was just focused on getting the foul. And I think that kind of hurt him. And I don't think a lot of people noticed that too much last night.
He never got into a full rhythm.
Yeah.
He hit some big shots, but then he rolled his ankle, which
right. Yeah. So how else do you feel about the series? How do you feel about the Pistons, the way they're playing?
I'm it's crazy. It's the first time since I was a kid that I have a team to be proud of in the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's unfortunate the results of the series so far.
Yeah,
because they could easily be up 3-2, or they could have also like easily won the series.
This series could have been over.
Especially if Isaiah Stewart was healthy. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
He would be frustrating the hell out of Cat if he was healthy. And we won't get to Jaden Ivey because he's been out for most of the season.
Yeah.
But Isaiah Stewart would have made a serious dent in the series.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, Malik Beasley hasn't fully been on. Tim Hardaway has had his great stretches and then gone cold.
Yeah.
Tobias Harris has, like, found himself again.
Mm-hmm.
The storylines in this series are so interesting.
Yeah.
Dennis Schroeder has been on a different team every season, but he keeps finding his way in the playoffs, and he's
contributing.
Yeah.
I would say he's possibly the second best player for the Pistons right now.
It's so interesting.
Or at least consistent.
I've been up and down with Jalen Duren, but he was very important in last night's game.
Yeah.
Like, it has been so – seeing a team like this in Detroit where they're losing and you're not, like, angry.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I was pretty angry.
People are more angry at, like, the refs than, like, the Pistons. Like, you can blame them for some errors and some things,
mm-hmm.
but I can't get frustrated with this team because they never give up. They've been in every game. Every game has been like single digits.
Mm-hmm.
So many teams have embarrassed themselves.
Yeah.
Especially Pistons teams in the past decade. They've been a joke.
Yeah.
And they're not a joke anymore. And this team keeps proving to the national media, and everybody that watches the NBA, the Pistons are here.
We're making Knicks fans nervous.
That's what Knicks fans are nervous. You go on social media and people are like, "I'm rooting for the Pistons. They keep getting screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way they're playing. Like I love Kate. People are getting into the Pistons.
People are hating on Jalen Brunson.
Like, it puts a smile on my face. Like it makes me so happy. Even they were down 3-1, they're down 3-2. And everybody's rooting for the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are almost America's team at this point, and it really makes me happy.
It's crazy how similar of a path they have been to the Lions. The Lions were in shambles. Now, the Lions did it a little bit better through the draft, I think.
They hit so well on so many picks in a 3-year span that it sped up the process.
Right. I think the only thing that's missing for the Pistons is kind of that like trade that shakes things up, and not that the Lions were shaken up by a trade necessarily, but I think the Jared Goff trade kind of jump-started their rebuild.
And most Lions fans saw him as like the tank commander, basically.
Right.
That he was going to lead them to the next top pick.
Yeah.
But he found himself in this new regime.
And I think that's kind of what the Pistons are looking for, is that one other guy that, has a chip on his shoulder.
Next to the guy.
Yeah. Got that chip on his shoulder, needs to prove something.
We'll talk about that later, because there's a veteran that I think will just slide in and do the job of being a guaranteed 20 whenever the offense slacks off. Just give him the ball. We'll get to that later. But yeah, they'll need that eventually.
Yeah, and I've been enjoying the series as well. I think, again, Chris will call me a hater or whatever, but I've been a little bit annoyed by the sloppy turnovers that the Pistons have been making.
Oh, yeah, they still show signs of a team that hasn't been here.
Yeah.
Even though they have like several veterans.
Right.
Those veterans aren't stars. Like they're role players.
Right.
So when your young guys are the most talented, the mistakes are going to come.
Yeah. And then the ending to Game 4 where Jalen Duren threw the ball away, that is my biggest pet peeve in basketball.
He had butterfingers yesterday. I don't know what it is in that mid-post area. He gets it and he just like, I don't know.
But I hate when teams do not get a shot off at the end of a game, because, and I was nervous right from the get-go when they had everybody in the front court, because to me nowadays, guys are so good at shooting half-court shots. Just have somebody in the backcourt as a safety valve, like Cade.
Well, they had Dennis Schroeder waiting in the backcourt. I think he's the fastest player on the court. So if they need somebody to get open, he could just sprint and get it.
Because they had Cade running away from the basketball, and that's when Jalen Duren passed it in. Now, part of that could be on Jalen Duren, just a bad pass, which it was. But you don't want to be passing the ball when he's going backwards. And so Cade he lobs it up. Cade has to turn around, identifies he can't get to the ball, and then we just turn it over. Like, Just give it to somebody that's in the backcourt. Let them shoot a half-court shot. I'd be way more pleased with that. But to not even get a shot off at the end of the game when you have some miracle chance to maybe do something, it's just annoying. I know it's not like the end of the world. They should have won the game way beforehand.
It's just a pet peeve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other...
The end of game 4, should we just finally get to that?
Sure, go for it. Because you were there. You can break it down a little bit.
I think Cade should have drove to the rim.
Because I think that was
try and get a foul call.
Yeah, because that was the biggest turning point of the series. Potentially, it could have gone even worse.
Yeah.
But Pistons had a good chance to kind of bounce back from that Game 3 loss. But
first of all, watching that first half was so disgusting. They played maybe their worst half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes that makes me love the team even more because they fought their way back and had a chance to win.
Yeah.
But Cade took over the third. He had like 15, 5, 4, 3 until like he completely took over the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they hit some shots, but then they went cold. New York clawed their way, but them hitting crazy shots in the fourth in this series has just been ridiculous.
And I think
that's been like the main reason why they're in control.
And I think that kind of goes to show the experience that they have. They're
Yeah.
they're not afraid of the moment. And we've seen Detroit kind of get a little bit skittish at the end of games.
That cat deep three,
that was nuts.
The crowd just went like people were so
Gotta be
confused
kidding
and
me.
dumbfounded. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but then Cade gets the ball. He got a good look. It bounced off the back. He could have got to the rim. It rolls to Tim Hardaway. He sees the defender coming. He pump fakes. Josh Hart jumps, bumps his hip, kind of like swipes him on the side. No call.
Yep.
And it goes to the replay. Looks like a foul. Seeing it there was insane because the refs like walked up to the table. It looked like they were going to review. I guess they couldn't review it.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to me that you can't review that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Why that's a rule. But
At that time, they had to have been just looking at the time.
they walked up to the table. It looked like they might have reviewed something. They grabbed their stuff and then they just started walking off.
Mm-hmm.
And the crowd just started booing mercilessly.
And
Like
see,
it was, yeah.
that's why I said it draws parallels to the Lions when the Lions got screwed over at Dallas.
Well, that goes. You talking about 2013?
No. Like,
Are you talking about the regular season game?
the Dan Skipper
That's
thing.
a little different because it's the regular season, but I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
but there's and in the past, like you mentioned, 2013 playoffs with the Lions. Like the Lions in the past have had these weird
Gotten
moments
screwed, yeah.
where you're like, what? So for the Pistons to see that as well was just, I don't know.
Yeah, but the icing on the cake was what report?
The 2-minute report that they
No,
do.
it's
the pool report
Yeah,
is like the official name of it.
they have the ref come out afterwards and say, "Oh yeah,
Yeah, we missed the call.
We
It's just
we missed it.
It doesn't do
Like,
any good.
It just makes it worse.
I get that they do that for transparency, I guess, but
Like you're not gonna fine them. Like you're not gonna do anything. You
The-
can't change the result.
I think the worst part too was he was the crew chief of that reffing corps, and he's the one that
Was he the one that was standing like
was
right
the one
there?
that was standing there, and he's the one that had to do the report.
Yes.
It was just bad.
Like,
and
the
that was-
worst time to swallow your whistle.
I think that was the other thing is I thought, oh, maybe the ref was on Josh Hart's side, and that's why they couldn't see. He got, I don't know why he would be over
No.
there, but
he
no,
was
he
right
was right
in the
in
perfect
line.
eye line sight. He was right there.
And I sort of get you don't want to have something like that, like be the determination of the game. But now,
But when that's the way the game has gone,
yeah, by not
Yeah.
calling it, it makes it. I don't know. I was more already upset that the Pistons kind of blew it at the end.
yeah, they went cold in the last.
Cade had some
two.
pretty bad turnovers late in that game.
Yeah.
I think that's my biggest frustration with Cade right now. There's some times where he's taken over, but there's also times where he like puts his head down and he forgets that people can come from behind and double team him, and he just loses the ball. Like they just come in and just grab it from him.
Because it's his first experience in these moments. I really can't get mad. Like
Yeah.
I don't expect him to play like a 5th, 6th year vet
Yeah,
that has like everything under control. There's going to be mistakes,
I think it's just
especially with his volume,
Mhm.
him like becoming the superstar. He's still producing.
Yeah.
Those things are going to happen.
And I get annoyed by the little things, so that's probably my problem. But for it to even happen like last night in some of these situations where he just got the ball stripped late in the game and in weird spots, it's like, come on, they've been doing this most of the series. Why are we still having this issue? Just a little bit frustrating. It's nothing crazy, but the other thing I think too that is the most disappointing is Malik Beasley.
Yeah,
he has not showed up since
the fans were like getting ready to really get on him.
Yeah,
but then he hit those 2 threes in the third quarter, I believe, that like helped them like get a lead. So the fans got back on his side at that point.
Right.
But the first half was rough, man.
He only had the one game, which was game 1 that him and Tim Hardaway went off?
I think so.
Because they went off, Cade did nothing, and then they lost.
Yeah.
And then after that, game 2, Cade went off, and Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley did nothing. Now, like you said, Tim Hardaway's had some bit of success since then, but even he's struggled.
Game 3, he was 6 threes in the first. Like he was unconscious in that first half.
Yeah. But Malik has been brutal.
He hasn't been
to say
himself.
the least.
He hasn't been himself.
The only thing I'll give him credit for is he doesn't look out of it mentally or anything. It's just off. It's not falling. He doesn't look unconfident. It's just not happening, and I'm sure it's frustrating for him, obviously, but like in these big moments, we need him. The Pistons do not have a secondary guy.
Yeah.
That's why I've been really enjoying Dennis Schroeder's play for the most part. He's been really clutch in a lot of these games. But if Hardaway Jr. is struggling, we don't have anybody else. Malik Beasley too, but like there's just not another guy.
You get your stretches of Tobias, but you know it's going to end at some point.
Right. And Tobias is not.
He's giving them quarters of like really good play.
Yeah, and I think
especially last night.
Tobias isn't really your closer either because a lot of times late in the game he's been guarding Cat.
Yeah.
And that's draining for anybody. So I don't know. I don't know where exactly they go. I think that's the more frustrating part for me is like when it's a close game. Outside of Cade,
they don't have.
We can't trust anybody. Meanwhile,
outside of Schroeder,
right?
He's Dennis Schroeder, so yeah,
right. Meanwhile, the Knicks are like they got Jalen Brunson, they got
he won
Cat.
Clutch Player of the Year,
right? Even Malik, Mikal Bridges hit that clutch 3 last night, which was so frustrating.
Listen, that was such bullshit with him and.
But
the OG Anunoby 3 was even dumber.
Yeah, the OG one I think got me, but like Mikal Bridges has a high release already, so that was like okay, sure. He can get that shot up and over. But, like, the Jalen Brunson in, was it game 4?
I know where you're talking about.
He was tightly contested by...
I can't remember who it was. But
Hardaway or Malik Beasley. They were, like, right up on him, perfect defense. And he, like,
last minute
fades away, double clutch, 3. And, like, okay, well, you know what? Fine. And that's where I have to give credit to the Knicks. They make shots when they need to. But it's also frustrating when the Pistons don't have that guy. Even Cade isn't like, he's not that kind of player. He's going to get to his spot and he's going to attack the basket to make something happen. But he's not necessarily like some crazy fadeaway, I don't know, like circus shooter.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
He's extremely skilled and can score on all 3 levels.
Right.
But yeah. He's not like the super highlights guy.
Yeah.
He just goes to work.
Right.
He just goes to work. It's enjoyable to watch. He's just not like a highlight.
And
machine.
he's hard to compare to another player either.
It's like I don't know if this isn't like an exact 1-to-1, but like Joe Johnson wasn't the flashiest guy.
That's fairly good.
But 8-time All-Star, just like 20 plus a game for like almost a decade.
Yeah.
Just you knew what was going to happen when ISO Joe got the ball.
Right.
He was going to get to a spot and he was going to get a bucket.
Yeah. And my original thought, which isn't really that great of a comparison when you start to think about it more, but I always go to like Paul Pierce where like they don't look like they should be able to do the things that they do.
It used to piss me off when I was a kid watching Paul Pierce.
But
it used to make me so angry.
Paul Pierce made a lot more like clutch buckets and things.
Hand in the face never mattered.
Yeah, he had a lot of weird fadeaway stuff, and Cade doesn't do that a whole lot. He'll do like the turnaround mid range.
Yeah, in the paint like that fadeaway jumper.
Yeah, but he's not like some crazy deep threat. He's a good 3-point shooter, but it's just he's like a very fundamental superstar or potential superstar. Let's not go there yet, but potential.
He's on the right. Everybody sees it coming.
Yeah, he's a star already in the league.
But a bunch of people have said Cade is like the best player pound for pound in this series.
Yeah.
Which it might be too early to say, but when you see his numbers and how he's carrying the team,
yeah,
it's argument.
Yeah. The one that still scares me though is Cat. I don't know how we're doing it. We're stopping him. I'm loving it.
He just has stretches where he just stops being aggressive.
Yeah.
It happens every game.
And I kind of agree with, like, I listened to Stephen A. Smith because he's a Knicks fan, obviously, talk about the games. He wants Cat to stop backing to the basket and attacking because he doesn't have the greatest of footwork or anything.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. Like, Cat is one of the best. He's the best shooter ever. Didn't he make
Dirk
that
still has
statement?
the title. By percentage, Cat has it, but Dirk is the best big man shooter.
So
Cat isn't far off, though.
But he is a great shooter for a big man.
Yeah.
So, like, I could see him if he just stretched the floor more often. It might be better for them.
Listen, those like Hakeem-esque, like turnaround shimmy fadeaways he hit in game 3 and 4 near the end. It's beautiful shots.
Yeah,
like he is a shot maker.
right. But he doesn't need to be under the basket.
He doesn't need to.
He's not like a post up kind of guy. So I don't know. It's just interesting, and I'm glad they've been playing him well, defending him well. Tobias has done a great job, I think. But yeah, I think the other one too stepped up big. Obviously, last night was Asar Thompson. He's been, I would say, borderline awful for the series, at least in my opinion.
You said Asar?
Yeah.
Outside of last night, it was very shaky.
Yeah.
He saved himself with that game yesterday.
And the thing that pisses me off about Asar, and he did it last night, the reach-ins. I was texting you guys about it last night. Like, he has Jalen Brunson.
Listen.
He is, 6'8", big wingspan.
Almost, he's like 6'7". He's almost 6'8". Yeah.
Okay. Way bigger than Jalen Brunson. He's holding his ground. He's got great defensive position. Every once in a while, Brunson would get by him. But he would have great defensive position. All of a sudden, swipe down. Foul.
Come
on.
It's because we don't have the ability.
I guess, but
he is so confident in his like ability to defend that once he's stuck on somebody, his first instinct is like, okay, I can get the steal. And he's super young and he's still like figuring it out. But I understand what you're saying.
But I always hated guys like that, and this is like the fundamentals in me.
That's just the stop hacking.
Yeah, like the refs are already calling lots of fouls.
Yeah.
Why in this situation would you be doing it? Also, the other thing that I used to love doing is when you know that somebody's going to reach, that is the perfect opportunity that as soon as you see, usually you can see like their shoulder or something start moving. If you are watching them as a ball handler, you can see that move and you can predict it, and you can either go behind the back or do a quick spin move. Jalen Brunson is smart enough to get around that. So you're either going to get a foul or you're going to get blown by because you're losing your defensive stance. It's just the thing. Again, I'm a very fundamental player, but that's the stuff that like makes me
it's hard to contain.
upset.
It's hard to contain someone with that much energy and like one-of-one athleticism that him and his brother have. Like, I can imagine as a coach, it is frustrating.
Yeah.
And like you hit your head against the wall because he is so gifted.
Yeah.
But he trusted he like you have to tell him to trust his instincts, but you also try to build him into something.
Yeah.
With his age, it's hard to like bridge that gap. And last night is the best of what you get.
Yeah.
Out of his energy and like him trusting his
Yeah.
instincts.
And I don't want to go too deep in the weeds with this, but let me just ask you a question. If you're being guarded by somebody and you have a really good defender on you, what feels worse? You dribbling around back left and right where you can't get by a guy, or that he picks your pocket, goes down the other way and gets a quick layup, and you're just kind of like, oh, he got me one time.
Well, yeah, I was
like, what is more annoying?
You're not going to get picked like 10, 11 times a game.
Right.
Getting tired and having to dribble
Mm-hmm.
to try to find something, which that's also on Jalen Brunson.
Right.
He does dribble it out too much.
Yeah.
But that's why he foul baits so much.
Yeah.
Because Asar is so good and sticky on him that he falls into him and does all that. As soon as he gets contact, he'll fall back. Like,
right.
Yeah, it's the gamesmanship and all the extra stuff.
I
that
just
comes
want
with
Asar
basketball.
to be a complete pest.
Hey, it takes a while to be able to get to that level. Like
Yeah.
the Tony Allen level of I'm a great defender and my IQ is so high that I'm not going for your bait.
Yeah.
Like Asar could get there, but he has a while to go.
Yeah. And keep practicing your free throws, man.
At least
It's killing me.
He hit over half of them last night. Like the second half, it made me happy because it wasn't constant like bricks.
Yeah.
He hit them when he needed to hit them.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's basically all we have. We've run out of time.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to wrap up with about this series?
Some teams have lost. The Heat, the Grizzlies, they've embarrassed themselves.
Man.
They got to go back to the drawing board.
They were up by 29
Listen,
and they lost.
Joey feared the deer, and the deer
All right,
feared
you
the
know what?
Pacers. And Giannis might be gone, so they got to figure some things out.
Yeah. It's
Might be a blockbuster trade where they can start to rebuild.
Mhm.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And Timberwolves might be the Lakers, beat the Lakers. I need the Warriors to beat the Rockets, get them out of here.
Mhm. Mhm.
And Nuggets Clippers still interesting, but
Could go 7.
yeah, Nuggets up 3-2.
We finally saw Jamal Murray show up.
Listen, he is the playoff riser.
Mm-hmm.
Does little to anything during the regular season, and when it's time in the playoffs, he does it.
If the Nuggets can win more games with Jokic scoring only 13 points, they're going to go places.
Yeah.
So, yeah, playoffs have been fun. We'll have to talk about the first round completely, go into the second round in a couple weeks. But hopefully also in, I don't know, it's probably a month's time now, we'll be at our 300th episode.
Jeez, man.
And I'm really trying to figure out how to get Chris on.
Even if we have to wait.
Yeah,
If
if
we're
we
gonna
do
figure
some
something
random day, we're literally going to talk about the Pistons for an hour, about their future, about what they've done, if they're still in the playoffs. They probably won't be. But we're going to do a whole Pistons episode because that's what the pod was kind of built on.
Yeah.
And I want to get his insights. It might get a little bit spicy. It might get a little bit wild.
Isn't it great that the intro has meaning again?
Yeah.
It feels
They brought the final countdown back.
being there for those intros was something else. I love it so much. It was great.
Alrighty. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. This has been Views from the Sideline. See you then.
Joey Tysick, #1 Tesla fan.